Hey guys, my name is Ashimar, and today I want to cover the mid-game as well as the endgame version for my tri-attribute stacker build guide. Now this is gonna be my last video covering this build, as if you have seen my previous videos, I haven't hacked and no longer have access to this build. But I still felt that it would be criminal to rob you guys of this build guide. In this video, I'll show you the gear upgrade priority, an updated passive tree, new skill gems, and most importantly, how to make those awesome looking explosions that you can see in the video. But before I begin, I wanted to ask you guys to like and subscribe to my channel, as only a small portion of my viewers are subscribed. You guys are the reason I keep making guides, and I appreciate all of your support. Alright, without further ado, let's begin by talking about gear upgrades. The first upgrade I want to make is finally gonna be my weapon. While I was very cheapish in the first video, a 12% roll is not that expensive, and since it's the best in slot weapon anyways, I might as well invest into it. Also, I've had a lot of questions in the comments about what rune should I be getting. And while I mentioned it in the very first video, as well as on my max roll guide, I didn't really show it, so here it is. It's the penetration soul course. If you wanna know why penetration is good, you should watch my first video, where I go quite in depth about it. The next upgrade is also unique, one that we do not yet have, but one that I talked about in my last video. Ingenuity. This will give a significant amount of damage, while also easing up some more of our resistances. I recommend you going for any roll that is above 50, as those tend to be the best value for your buck. However, if you are stacked on currency, you obviously should get a better roll. Before buying one, make sure you're capped on resistance. When calculating, remember that Path of Exile calculation rounds against the player, meaning that even if you end up having a 0.9, you are rounded down to the nearest low number. If you're having a hard time capping resistances, then consider getting a chest upgrade before the belt. The chest is going to be all same Warrior Invictus, except this time we are adding on another desired modifier, all elemental resistances for Sacred Soul Core. While it is also quite expensive, this is something that is heavily required in the mid progression. I understand that saving up 20 to 30 divines without any in-between upgrades may feel bad, but these upgrades are so massive that it is very well worth it to save up, as not only will they increase your damage and resistances, they will also act as long-term investments into your build, something that you're gonna hold on to. That's gonna be it for uniques, for now at least. Now, let's talk about rare gear, shall we? But before I do so, I want to touch on a topic that is very close and dear to my heart. Rarity. With all the noise going around in it, I cannot leave it unmentioned. Personally, I think rarity on gear is very bad as a game design decision, as it makes us choose between power fantasy and loot fantasy, whereas in my opinion, both should be achievable at the same time. With that said, now that we have the budget, I am going to add some rarity onto my gear through rings and boots. If you plan on going away from resistance on rings completely, then consider buying Grand Spectre. These are special unique jewels that we have to place in jewel sockets on our tree. Do not consider buying them unless you can afford all three at the same time. In essence, 3 of these jewels, 4% each, will give you 36% total elemental resistances, or 12% each. If you remove at least one of them, they will be granting you 8 each, or 16 for the two. I should also mention that many unique jewels have a limit on them, meaning that you cannot put in more than the limited amount into your tree. At this point, our build's budget will increase exponentially. If you want a more detailed guide about different budget breakpoints, then make sure to check out my max roll link in the description below. It has a thorough progression guide from small to medium to high budget. With the budget increasing, we are going to be adding more unique jewels besides the Grand Spectre. Please be warned that as I am making this video, the availability of these jewels is very limited. Unfortunately, my videos have become big enough to a point where I am able to affect small markets. For this reason, you shall decide for yourself if they're worth it for you or not. The first unique jewel that I'm going to be adding to the build is Against the Darkness. These comes in all sorts of forms and variations. However, sadly, you cannot search directly for these variations. You will have to snipe them off of live search. It is for that reason that this jewel can be bought for extra cheap. The stats that you're looking for are these. These can act as a source of extra damage or percent increased attributes. You can look for any combination of the two. If you want to know what stat is better to take, then you should probably go watch my previous video, where I go in depth about stat priority. With our current tree, we are able to get 3 notable passive skills, but we can take that even further. By slotting in a From Nothing diamond with resonance variation, we can effectively bypass the requirement to take small nodes, and take these large nodes instead, which have incredible synergy with our previous jewel, since it affects all these passives in radius. But it doesn't stop there, no. A lot of people messaged me asking whether this pure power node is good. And yes, while it is indeed pretty good, pathing towards it is suboptimal, as it takes too many bad nodes to reach it. But what if I tell you that there's actually a way to bypass all those bad nodes? Controlled Metamorphosis effectively acts as a thread of hope from Path of Exile 1. It allows us to allocate any chosen passive skills on the tree without having them connected to the rest of the tree. If we take the massive variant, then pure power will be perfectly in range, but it doesn't stop there. With it, we actually can get lightning quick, which offers a nice bonus to both attack speed and increased lightning damage. But also the note after that, which gives us a portion of lightning damage as extra cold damage. And if you forget why that's good, it's because Tempest build damage scales very well if you're able to inflict elemental ailments onto it. And this note becomes our source of cold damage, the very one we would spend 8 pathing points just to get to in the first video. Beware, as this jewel lowers our resistance, so make sure you're prepared for that when you decide to buy one. On a side note, I should mention that searching for these jewels is very unintuitive, but I actually found a workaround, and I'll be including all the search links in my Maxroll guide. That was a lot of information. I hope I made it as clear as possible for you guys. But if you've still got more questions, don't hesitate to add me in-game or message me on Discord. With the gear and tree upgrades out of the way, let's talk about the most important part of this video. Explosions. Where do they come from? Well, this tech was brought to my attention by Fabgun. I'm not sure if he's the first person on YouTube who has talked about it, but he's the one I learned it from. In short, healing a shocked enemy will trigger Herald of Thunder, which is damage we convert into cold using Cold Infusion to make it freeze enemies. We further enhance its freezing capabilities with Glacification, and killing a frozen enemy and thus shattering it will trigger Herald of Ice, which is damage we convert into lightning using Lightning Infusion to make it shock enemies. We further enhance its chance to shock using Conduction, and we give it shock magnitude using Overcharge. So when we attack, since our main source of damage is lightning, we will most likely shock, triggering Herald of Thunder, which freezes enemies it kills, triggering Herald of Ice, which shocks an enemy while killing it, triggering Herald of Thunder, which freezes an enemy it kills, which triggers... You get the idea. And while you have enough mobs that are killable with a single hit, the chain explosion will go on. However, looking at Fabgun's explosions...
Ooh, that's kind of small.
And comparing that to mine...
That's quite big.
We can see clear discrepancy. So why is that? Well, that is because Herald triggers are considered attacks, and the area of effect per intelligence on our weapon works with Herald explosions, thus making our build stand out even more. But explosions are not the only changes to our build. You see, in the last video I made a rash decision, and I wanna apologize for it. Look at this abomination of a combo. Who wants to press it all when all you can do is just electrocute an enemy and generate a charge? Hold on, that's it? One button? That's right, with Combat Frenzy active, we can generate charges upon freezing enemies or electrocuting them, since we have the Resonance Keystone active. But Ashimar, now I'm reserving 90 Spirit. Didn't you say cannibalism is almost mandatory in maps for the sustain it provides? And the answer is yes. However, there's a different source of health recovery on kill, and it's on a jewel. While yes, it's only up to 2%, that 2% is more than enough to sustain us through maps, as long as we're killing stuff. To make use of the leftover 10 Spirit, we can put in Clarity in Resonance, making it reserve 40 Spirit. Besides Spirit Gems, the changes to other skills are not as massive. To learn all about it, check out the build planner in the description. Talking about all the small changes would simply take too long, and also I can update the Maxroll guide in real time, so it will always be relevant. With that said, it would have been time to wrap up the video, but since I can't really showcase the build scaling further, let's talk about future upgrades that you should make if you want to take the build to the next level. First and foremost, Astrometis. It's the last unique piece for our build, which nearly doubles our damage in the endgame, as with all the increases we have on our tree and gear, it will give us up to 200 total to all attributes. This is an immense amount, and it's unlikely that an amulet slot can be beat, except if you're looking for rarity. Besides that, you should look to get a 5-socket chest with the same rolls, and with it, you gain an additional 15 resistances, which can compensate for getting more attributes on your rings. As well as losing sockets from our glove, since you kinda really wanna take the corrupted one that has rolled 1 to 12 damage per intelligence. But you can take that even further by getting one with 4% attack speed in addition to the 1 to 12 damage. Last but not least, you should get better rare gear. While the ones you got can totally be fine, you get rings that will give you upward of 130 total attributes, and this, mind you, is without taking the increases from Ingenuity into consideration. If you end up getting a GG ring that you totally want a second copy of, you can use it in combination with Kalandra's Touch. Although for it to make total sense, Kalandra Touch has to be cheaper than an otherwise similar ring. And finally, you can corrupt some of your jewels to get even more out of them, like your Grand Spectrums, which when corrupted successfully can either get an implicit or go to 5% roll. On this note, I want to thank you guys for watching the video and supporting my channel. Seriously, I cannot thank you guys enough for doing so much for me. You guys are the reason I'm still motivating, still here, still releasing videos and build guides. My gratitude is immeasurable, and it's all thanks to you guys. Thanks to your comments. If you want to support my channel, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to chat. Hit me up in game. I'm answering all of the questions. I try my best to do the best I can for the community. And also, I want to address one thing. A lot of people were offering me handouts. Please guys, no handouts. It's gonna ruin the integral fun of the game for me. So I will never accept handouts from viewers. It's just something that's not approachable for me, you know? I want to build up everything for myself. Otherwise, I feel like my videos are not true to the spirit of Path of Exile. The grinding spirit, you know? The grinding gear games, yeah? With that said, my name is Ashimar. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.